also, this film, a lot of sweat, blood, and tears have gone. And the emphasis, more often than not, is on tears. All these three come in this order. I would like to know from Ayan and Karan, sweat, blood, one understands. Tears, what is this tears story?
I mean, I don't know a single person besides Ranbir, and happy birthday, Ranbir. Uh, uh, besides Ranbir, who on the major A team of the film that stood, that perhaps hasn't shed a few tears right through. Sometimes out of exhaustion, sometimes out of stress, sometimes out of inability in the moment to combat the situation, sometimes out of just fatigue. I mean, it's like there is so many reasons. I know Ayan has been emotionally vulnerable at so many junctures. I've seen it because to him, I've always been like a protective parent. So every time I see him go through those beats, it's very difficult to see a team really weather those storms. And I know at this point the film is out and it all seems beautiful and rosy and we're all so grateful. But really, Komal, this wasn't just, it was really like climbing a cinematic Mount Everest. And right now it's like Ayan is standing on top of that mountain and really, flying the Indian flag with aplomb.
I'm sure
like,
it is.
but
But
it really-
Ayan, one incident where you broke down.
Oh, one incident where I broke down.
Ayan.
Komal sir, so dramatic. Yeah. What do I say?
I've seen you break down, Ayan.
No, so I'll tell you one of the big challenges we had on the film. So
You can't skirt the question, huh? You say
no, no.
whatever you want to say, but you will have to give that incident where you broke down.
so, okay, my interpretation of this word broke down. I'm trying to find an incident that one should latch on to. So, what had happened on the film is that when we entered this journey, Hamari industry may we work a certain way where we think script has happened, you're going to start making the film in 6 months, 7 months. This is par for the course. It's what you expect. So on Brahmastra, we realized early on that this was not going to be possible. I needed to give 2, maybe 3 years just figuring out how to make this film and this very prolonged pre-production period. So I had done my best, and I had taken on 2 years. We'd done a lot of research. We'd done a lot of visual effects planning. And I really thought that I was like some young Steven Spielberg, that I've cracked this and we're going to like fly from here. We shot our first schedule, which we started by shooting our climax, which was a very interesting thing that we did. We started the film with the climax. And I remember right after we shot that schedule, after all that pre-production, our VFX budget basically tripled right after we shot it. And now the film had begun.
So was that lack of planning or it just...
Sir, I don't think it was lack of planning.
The nature of the beast,
I think what it was that for all the partners involved, including the VFX teams at that point of time, it was just very new what we were attempting for Indian film.
So y'all couldn't have planned it.
They didn't know what they would run into. And which is why when a lot of people are now setting off on big VFX, visual effects films, I see that is something that could happen, that they don't know what to expect. They don't know there's no way to plan for it.
Sure.
So, in fact, I remember I called the head of Disney at that time, which was Mr. Uday Shankar, and Karan and all, I don't know if Karan remembers, we all flew down to London, and we had already shot a big portion of the film, and we didn't know if we would now how would we raise the rest of the funds to finish it. So those were very challenging days. Our little group that was trying to make the film, we also went through a lot of internal stress, but then we came back stronger, we took it on, we took on the budget again, and we kept moving forward. And I feel like stuff like this happened on Brahmastra every 2-3 months, basically.
Karan, did you cry?
Karan is a pro, now. Karan is
but Karan is also very emotional, I know that.
But I'll tell you this, I've released so many films, Komal, and it's just been, this particular film, I think, really affected me. So I even remember telling somebody, I said, I'm very open to criticism. I love to hear what is wrong with the film. I'm academic about it. But just for 2-3 days, if you didn't like it, don't tell me. I said, just don't tell me. I'm too fragile and vulnerable. And I don't want to express it because I'm meant to be the senior leader of this pack. So if I show myself, and I remember we had a fan screening. It was on Thursday night, on the 8th night, and we had a fan screening. And yeah, and the media watched it as well. And there was a couple of messages that were so wonderful to read, and a chat we had with you also that was very heartening. And then there were some messages that came in that were completely extreme, and I just felt like my blood pressure had dropped. You know, I just felt like, oh my God, what if we've gone completely wrong? And this is something I couldn't even share with Ayan or the team. It was just stress, because it was like stress as a parent to the film. You know, like I'm just stressed for all these kids who've given their life for the film. That night I didn't sleep a wink. I literally didn't sleep a wink. It wasn't that I was crying. It's just that I could feel like this is really a big deal. It's a new universe, and there is going to be extreme reactions. But then the film, just like the process, really fought at the box office. It's really quite heartening to see how the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, then the Monday may have lessened, then again it was back up on Wednesday, Thursday, then went up on Friday. The second Friday was higher than the Thursday, which is very rare. Then the weekend went up again. Then we had cinema day. That it's just like literally the film was fighting, the audience was rooting. It was like I felt like just the journey, the eventuality was the same. The result was the same.
You know, Ayan, since you are so open to criticism like Karan, and you like to absorb what people are saying, have you tried to analyze how come for this film there was so much of negative reviews? Ultimately, the box office counts, but you know, in those initial days, reviews do matter.
Sir, I'll be honest, I have not yet absorbed all the negative reviews. So when you say, oh, there was so many negative reviews, my feeling is that it was 50-50. You know, there was not, it's not like we got, like you gave us a very nice review, and there was a lot of support. And my approach to it has been,
I gave you positive reviews because Karan sent me promised me a check.
You know, you say these things are a joke, and I'll be trolled for the remaining.
It's a joke. It's a joke.
And I'm like, please don't troll me about this now. I'm done with receiving trolls for various other things.
Sorry.
So my approach, sir, has been that I am waiting still for a few more weeks to go, and for Brahmastra to really completely settle down. It was such a new beast in the jungle, such a new kind of film that, you know, oftentimes when you go to watch a film for the first time, as much as you are commenting on what's in the film, you're also commenting on what is not in the film, what you imagine to be in the film, what the film is missing, instead of just accepting it for what it is. So in general, my attitude is I am very open to criticism. I have heard stuff, you know, that the dialogues didn't really work as well. People weren't 100% convinced by the love story, this, that. So I'm hearing it, but I'm also waiting for enough time for the film to truly settle, to release on streaming, release on satellite, and then to really make sense of all my learning from what people have said, because I don't want to learn the wrong lessons. You know, if I take, like, very honestly, there's a lot of people writing about film, and I'm happy to hear about it, but I don't know if they have a pulse on what is truly working and not working on a film. And I think you can go very wrong when you start over-listening to everything as well. So I'm trying to make sure that the right feedback reaches me, so I can learn from that for the future.
Is it possible, I'm just asking you and Karan both, Karan, you can also answer. Is it possible that you all concentrated very heavily on the visual effects because it was something unique? Indian cinema hadn't seen this kind of visual effects. So, on purpose, intentionally, you all concentrated less on the script part and more on the visual appeal part?
So I think maybe it's possible that some of that happened just naturally.
Yes, that's what I mean.
It is possible, but truth be told, we worked very hard on the story and the script as well. And we were constantly working on actually improving the film right till the end. There were sequences that we had in the film which we didn't feel happy with, and we reshot a couple of, like, not VFX sequences, but story sequences. No, sir, I think we put our best foot forward on part one. I realized that there are a few departments in which people feel we could have done better, and we will do better.
Karan, you'd like to add?
Also, as I said, people were looking, and much of the, whenever the criticism came, and I think it was looking at it as just a feature film, Brahmastra. There are 3 films. So a lot of like the bits and pieces of this film that needed to be there that all actually pay rich dividends in part 2. So, and part 3. So there had to be backstories. There had to be, the love story therefore had to be speedened. We were relying on chemistry. So in fact, there's a large section that believes, oh, the love story shouldn't have been there. But love stories right at the end of the film, you realize that love is the biggest Brahmastra to have.
What Amitabh says.
Yeah, it's right what Mr. Bachchan says. So there was so much of story, the backstory, everything had to be put in part 1. In any universe, the first film has a lot of putting in stuff for you to then cash in on that story-wise. I'm not saying that people are right or wrong in their assessment, but I feel that they were not looking at it holistically. They were looking at it very, very, very individualistically as just one film. And that's why all the learnings that he said he will of course, we will absorb and learn, because we are, I think, aware enough to understand that it's important to hear praise and criticism in equal measure. But there is a lot that was actually in the film because of the other 2 films. And that is something I don't think lots of people were kind of accounting for.
It's good you brought up this topic. So, how is it that you did not educate the public beforehand? Don't you think, on hindsight, don't you think you all should have actually put this out right before the release, that view it as part of a trilogy?
We did. We put it, but how much? Nobody ever. It's always been said. It's a trilogy. There are 3 parts. We've said it time and again. We've said it everywhere. But everyone chooses to, listen to what they want to. And there was a large section that was just stuck on why we've used the term love story in a song called Kesariya. So I was like, if that is what is really making them getting all wound up about, then I'm not sure how much of the real intricate elements of the film they're going to look at. And maybe they'll just take it as it comes.
Karan, this one is for you. Ayan is the director, but you are the producer. There are so many figures floating. I understand, and which is what I put out in the review also, whether it's 400 crore or 410 crore or 390 crore, the cost of the film. It cannot be expected that the entire cost is attributable to part 1, because you'll have built assets, you'll have done a lot of spade work for part 2 and 3.